Hello, this is Will Schlecht from Iron Crow AI. Today I wanted to do kind of a comparison between our large language model Sandbox and another patent application drafting tool called Added Matter. I think Added Matter is based out of the UK, and they've got a tool which purports to be able to generate a specification just based off of claims and invention disclosure. Um, and I want to compare this for the same application, so the same disclosure information, how it can compare with our method here, our drafting tab. So let's see how we use this tool. So basically, you need to start with claims, and then optionally, you can add an invention disclosure. So very straightforward in what information you need, but also incredibly rigid because it doesn't give you the flexibility to say you want to start with figures, which you've drafted, and you want to draft claims based off of those figures. You wouldn't be able to do that with this tool because you must start with the claims. The invention disclosure that you can add, I was also a bit surprised by this. It doesn't allow you to upload files. You actually have to have text that you copy and paste into a text box. And the text box has a limit of 10,000 characters, which is incredibly tiny. 10,000 characters. So for example, I had a transcription of an invention disclosure call, so just getting the transcription of an invention disclosure call is a bit difficult. That's something that the large language model Sandbox will do for you. You can get the text directly by uploading an MP3 file, or you can just upload it directly into the content tab, and it will do all that work for you. It will take an MP3 file, extract the text, and then kind of process that text so that it's ready to be used in drafting your patent application. Whereas this doesn't even let you select a file to upload. You would need to, I guess, listen to your invention disclosure call and transcribe those notes yourself into this text box, but also make sure your invention disclosure meeting is not more than maybe 10 minutes long, because otherwise you're going to exceed this size limit for the disclosure materials that you can add. But assuming that you can fit all that in there, your invention disclosure fits in 10,000 words. Amazing. Let's start generating our specification. So that's nice. It does allow you to just click a button and it will start drafting all of these different sections of your specification. So let's see, we've got a method for enhanced imaging system based on physiological motion data. That is a title. It's not the kind of title I would draft, just because the format that I would tend to use would say something more like systems and methods for enhanced imaging based on physiological motion detection. So it doesn't really match my particular style or the style that I would use for this client. And the reason that it doesn't is because it has no information about what my style is. Whereas our tool, we have a style tab where we can upload different examples of drafted applications that do fit the style for that particular client and for me as a particular author. So I could just ask it to draft the title for the disclosed invention. And to be fair, you do have to exert the additional effort of typing this prompt in order to get this to work. You can't just click a button. So some additional effort on the part of our tool, but of course it's going to have maybe, 100,000 characters of text, probably much more than that. I think often we can get up to about 1 million tokens worth of text instead of 10,000. And we have methods and systems for cardiac trigger detection using deep learning. That is exactly how I would draft a title. And that makes sense because it knows how I would draft titles. These cases, they're related, they're for the same client, but it's not like we've given it the completed specification. These are just examples of the style that we have, and it's able to learn the salient features of that style and apply it to each section that it drafts. Whereas the Added Matter tool has none of those capabilities. It's just going to give you a one size fits all text for each section. Like, for example, this background has paragraphs which are 1 sentence long or 2 sentences long in this case. That's not, I don't think that's the style that most people would use to draft a background. Also, it starts say in another approach involves the use of software algorithms to analyze the acquired image. So it's already kind of bleeding in information about the claims into the background, which maybe some people like to do that. I like to use the background to establish the technical field and the existing limitations, and then the summary is going to actually, you know, uh, kind of provide the embodiments of the independent claims and kind of how those address the existing issues in the field. So, I mean, really, they use a very formulaic approach here to convert the text from the claims into kind of one size fits all summary section, which, to be honest, is just completely not usable for me as a work product, and I don't think it'd be usable for most people. And it certainly isn't going to fit most people's style. So let's ask our tool to draft a background section and see how it does. So let's just say, please draft a background section for the disclosed invention. And again, there's many degrees of customization that this tool really enables very easily. You could give this prompt some information about how long you want the background section to be, or how you like your background sections to be formatted. Maybe you like your paragraphs to have 10 sentences each, or you like it to, as I said, to kind of capture the existing limitations in the field, but not necessarily talk about the disclosed invention or the claims of the invention. So let's just give it this kind of vague prompt to see how it does. I'm going to ask it to draft that background section. And so this tool will continue to kind of try to, in one shot, output the entirety of a specification. So it does prepare an abstract. Again, I think preparing an abstract is something that even LLMs or machine learning tools before transformers, so maybe like 2014, they would be able to do this kind of abstract generation. And it's regurgitating the claims that we gave it. So I don't think we can give it much credit for just copy pasting information we already provided. And the real issue for me, even all these other kind of limitations aside, if it was able to draft detailed descriptions of figures very efficiently, very beautifully, that would be still worth it in my opinion. But it doesn't have any input. You can't give it any information about what your figures include, and it's not really clear how you would prompt it to draft a figure description. So it's talking about a method, but we haven't disclosed a method. I think it's assuming that because we have a method claim, we're going to have a figure that has a method in it. And in many cases, that's true. You're going to have a method figure that more or less mirrors the text of your claims, but that's not always true. You may have a method which is much more detailed than your claim, and I don't think you would be able to handle that at all, let alone drafting figures or drafting really a more kind of customized or fleshed out version of a figure description, since it doesn't have the ability to have the figure as input. So here we can see the background section that we've drafted. And already off the bat, this looks a lot more like what what a normal background section would look like. But I think, even assuming that it did a terrible job the first time, the beautiful thing about our interface is that it's a chat interface. So you can just say, please, let's see. Yeah, we could say, maybe we like this paragraph. We could say, please expand the above paragraph to include additional examples. And you could say anything. You could tell the tool to double the size, or double the size of the text, or reduce the complexity of the background section, or focus more on one issue or a different issue, based on your own knowledge as a human practitioner, your own deeper insight of the client's needs and the technology. But we're just gonna give it this, expand this particular paragraph as an example. And what does this paragraph talk about? It's talking about the reduced reliability of cardiac gating in clinical settings, leads to numerous customer service issues. Approximately 100 man days per year are spent on customer service. Okay, so yeah, here we go. The reduced reliability of cardiac gating clinical settings lead to numerous. So it's literally what we asked for. It's a much expanded version of that same paragraph. Um, there's no comparable feature in this product, and you know, I won't go into detail about the way that it drafts figures, but really it can't draft figure descriptions whatsoever. And we have a pretty nice workflow for being able to draft complete figure detailed descriptions of figures. And, of course, you can iterate on those to refine any aspect of them that you want. And by going section by section, as we do, instead of outputting all of this information, most of which would need drastic edits to be usable as work product, by going section by section, even if the first attempt to draft a section fails miserably, you can just correct it. You can just prompt it to fix its mistakes until it looks good, copy that information into a working document, and then the working document can be fed back in as content. So it'll stay informed about what it has previously drafted so that it has continuity with the previous sections that it has drafted. And each of those previous sections you'll have already edited and refined so that it's able to build off of your kind of encoded preferences in those sections to draft the other sections of your patent application. Again, nothing like that with this tool. It's just a one shot. But on the plus side, it gives you unlimited usage per month. You just need to pay, I think, $495 a month. That is, unlimited usage is great, but if the output is not usable as work product, and it would honestly take me longer to edit this and fix it to look like anything that I would actually draft. It's going to take me longer to make those edits than to just draft it myself by hand. So I feel like paying $500 a month for that doesn't make sense to me. Whereas our tool, even for the most expensive usage tier, we're not unlimited, but that just reflects the fact that our tool is substantially more powerful. And so, it costs us a lot to run because we throw incredibly premium advanced machine learning at these problems so that the work product is actually usable. But that entails costs. And so we need to kind of cap the limit of how many tokens you can use a month. But our limit, our price is $200 for 100,000 tokens. That's the current pricing. And you can draft an application of about 8 to 10 figures using about 10,000 to 15,000 tokens. So for the 100,000 token limit, so for $200 a month, you could draft, if you're careful, you could draft about 10 applications a month, which is, I'd say, much, much above what a normal practitioner is going to be drafting. So it's effectively an unlimited amount of usage. You're going to be able to use it as much as you need. Of course, we can always increase the usage amount. And that's only going to cost $200 a month for actual usable work product compared to a tool that, despite being convenient because you can click one button and then click another button, and now you've downloaded a quote unquote complete specification. Although that specification is, I can't imagine that anyone would use this as is without, I mean, that would be, I don't know, that would be borderline unethical to use a tool like this, based off of 10,000 characters of invention disclosure. Uh, yeah, I don't think I would use this tool. So I'm gonna unsubscribe from my subscription, keep using this tool. But just thought that would be interesting to look at the differences between, surprisingly a fairly popular tool on the market. People are actually, they mention this tool to me like, oh, have you seen Added Matter? So I thought I would check it out and do a little video on this comparison. So, maybe there are people that like the simplicity of this workflow. And admittedly, the drafting tab is intimidating because it's very open-ended. I mean, it starts with this, right? Just this blank, open-ended thing. And I think it's difficult to gain that initial skill set to know how to draft an application with this tool. But once you gain that skill set, this tool is able to draft, you know, it's able to draft work product that you yourself would have made by hand, but at 2 or 3 times faster than you would have been able to draft it. Um, and I think if you actually try these, you can get a free trial to both of these tools and you can try it out yourself. So thank you, and I'll see you again next time.